Hello, I'm Ayse Suberker and welcome to this special edition of Strait Talk from Kahramanmaras, the epicenter of last year's deadly earthquakes that struck southern Turkey. Join me as I look at how thousands are trying to return to a normal life and the monumental task of rebuilding entire neighborhoods from the ruins of last year's quake. The scale of destruction the February 6 quakes caused is still hard to grasp. More than 1.5 million people were left homeless by the tremors. And while many have been rehoused, more are still waiting for a new home. Until that day, thousands will stay in container cities like this. After a year, life is slowly returning to normal for the thousands living in this container city. But during those first few days, the experience was traumatic. And no one knows that better than AFAD, Turkey's main government disaster management agency. So, could you tell us about what the city looked like in the very early hours after the earthquakes?
First of all, welcome to our city. Kahramanmaras has suffered the biggest damage from the earthquakes. Many buildings were damaged or destroyed. AFAD's first priority was search and rescue operations, which started immediately. We swiftly deployed our teams to the affected areas. After rescue operations, we also needed to shelter the quake survivors. To meet their basic needs, we initially built tent cities. Once the rescue operations were completed, AFAD continued its huge efforts aimed at improving the quality of life of our citizens and meeting their accommodation needs. The first container city in Kahramanmaras was opened on February 21st. Step by step, while building the tent cities, we were also building the container facilities. Later we moved survivors to container cities. As of now, there is no tent city in Kahramanmaras.
So talk to us about this city. How many people are currently living here?
At this moment, there are 55 container cities in Kahramanmaras province. The total number of containers here is 22,426. These containers are home to 66,890 citizens. At the moment, we are hosting you at Umutkent Container City. Here we have 2,740 containers, sheltering 7,500 citizens.
So what kind of work goes into running a city like this in terms of logistics?
Türkiye has made a tremendous effort in improving the lives of its citizens. In this container city, we have 2,740 containers. Logistics is of one of the most important things we focus on. First, we build the foundation for their container city. After that, AFAD delivers and ships the containers, connecting each of them to electricity and water, making them move in ready motion. Making them move in ready. It is a big process.
So eventually the thousands of people who currently live here will move out one day. So is there a time frame for when that will happen?
For sure. Our ultimate goal is to move citizens into their permanent homes. In Kahramanmaras, we will be going through a lottery selection process to determine who gets their homes first. In the first term, we expect to deliver 8,122 apartment buildings and 1,167 cottages. Our final goal is to move people into their homes in a short period of time. At the moment, 22,000 houses are under construction. Hopefully, we will move people into their permanent homes, their warm nests, very soon. During the disaster, countless international and national rescue teams came here and worked with us. I am personally grateful to all of them, and I thank each of them on behalf of myself and AFAD. May God spare us from ever witnessing such a disaster again. I wish the entire country disaster-free days.
Thank you very much. International organizations like the United Nations Development Programme were also crucial in the immediate aftermath of the quake, where they brought immediate relief to survivors. But the UNDP also has long-term goals as well, especially when it comes to repairing and preserving Turkey's cultural heritage sites that were damaged by the quake. As UNDP's Türkiye resident representative, you have been in this country for almost 4 years, launching projects for the different segments of the Turkish society. How has your work changed due to the devastating earthquakes of last year?
We've seen really a fundamental change in the way we work. As a development actor, we tend to have a very long time horizon, spend a lot of time planning to ensure that we know what we'll be doing and sort of managing our funding so that we have it evenly spread out over time. And of course, the earthquakes came. We're not a humanitarian agency, so we continue to have development priorities, which are a return to normal life, a return to jobs, social services, a lot of things that go into a recovery in addition to housing. So immediately after the earthquake, once we made sure that all of our people were safe, we took all of our programs, everything that was underway, and adapted them to the earthquake response. So we had a lot of support from our donors. We're a very project-based organization. But just to give you one example, we had a Japanese-funded project underway in Hatay on zero waste, and zero waste in the Asi River going into the Mediterranean. So immediately we took the activities that were underway there that couldn't be pursued because of the earthquake conditions.
So your priorities have changed a little.
Everything is earthquake oriented.
So what kind of social and economic recovery efforts has your organization undertaken in this last 12 months?
We've had 4 priority areas and we've stuck to them very, very consistently. The most important, I think, is getting people back to work. So people need a house to live in, but they also need a job that gives them income and self-reliance and independence. Our biggest initiative so far is with $10 million of Swedish funding. We've implemented a program of small grants for small businesses with a focus on women-headed businesses, but not only. We've awarded 4,616 grants in really the space of just 2 months across all 11 provinces with a focus on the most effective provinces. What we've seen is that the funding is essential to get businesses back into functioning order. People have lost shops, they've lost inventories, they've lost customers, they've lost employees. And what we've heard wherever we've gone is that this grant funding that we received was important financially, but also as a sign of solidarity. So we see that people in the business world, especially small businesses, are feeling quite alone and in need of continuous support.
So besides your projects, could you talk to us about your organization's collaboration with the Turkish government? I mean, what are your shared interests in here?
I think we're very much aligned in our recovery vision. So we work with many of the individual ministries, the Ministry of Family and Social Services, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Industry and Technology, Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and also very closely with the affected provinces and municipalities. And I think where we feel most anchored is in the municipal level, where we see there's a very clear sense of people's needs, and we have developed the ability to respond to requests when received. So again, a new way of working for UNDP in a crisis.
So following the earthquake, significant foreign aid poured into Türkiye. Talk to us about the importance of international solidarity when it comes to disasters like the February earthquakes.
I think the first sign of this we saw was in this amazing search and rescue effort, where many over 100 countries were represented, sending experts and searching dogs and emergency supplies. And here we see a kind of solidarity among countries that are facing disasters. We know that Japan had a huge disaster. Japan was one of the biggest supporters here. But also, it's interesting that this outpouring of solidarity can help adjust the political balance between countries. We see Greece was one of the first responders here, and that support has helped to change maybe the tone of relations between the two countries. We're working now with Croatian support to build some disability-friendly schools, rebuild some disability-friendly schools in the affected area. What the Croatians said was, we remember when we had our earthquake recently that destroyed parts of near Zagreb, Petrinja, and other villages, that they said among the first to come to our aid was Türkiye, so it's a sense of repaying that debt. So that's on the humanitarian side. On the development side, we need to see consistent support, and that's one area where I would make an appeal. We saw an initial strong response, but people tend to underestimate the challenges in this region. If they didn't see it firsthand, they don't understand how big an earthquake this was, how unprecedented the consequences. So for our work to continue, for the work of supporting livelihoods, supporting care services, we need to see continued and sustained international solidarity to remember that this was an unprecedented disaster.
So how many historical structures were damaged or destroyed after the earthquakes?
There are over 4,000 of the 8,000 structures on record.
Almost
so
half
really,
of it.
so there was damage almost everywhere, and some of it was total, some of it was partial. There's a concerted effort that's been underway to catalog what's damaged. We're trying to support by rallying the international community, because this is a region that belongs not just to Turkey's history, but to world history. This is the history of the origins of humanity, the origins of the first human settlement in Göbekli Tepe. This is a region where there's so many firsts, and such a diverse region of different faiths, different ethnicities, different cultures, all of that reflected in one area where you go back 13 civilizations, centuries and centuries. So what we want to convey to the world, we have a crowdfunding campaign, but we're also talking to private sector donors, traditional donors, is to try to restore not just the physical structures, but the unique spirit of diversity and cultural interaction among communities. We see that at least $2 billion of damage was done to cultural heritage monuments, and in many cases it's just priceless cultural heritage. You look, unique mosaics, unique statuary, unique structures, marketplaces from the Ottoman era. So we're hopeful this campaign will get going, capture the attention.
Sustainability is the
exactly,
key, as I understand.
yes,
So Louisa,
yes.
moving forward, I mean, what needs to be done for all of these regions and its people to get back to their normal?
I would say the first point, and I think this is an important point to make on the first anniversary, not to forget, not to move on. You know, Turkey is a big country with giant industry, giant cities, and life goes on there as normal. So people need to look here, continue to watch, and see the distance to a normal life that remains. That we have, you know, almost 700,000 people living in containers at this point, which is safer than a tent, better than a damaged house, but still not a normal life. So not to forget, and then to be generous in contributing, that it's housing reconstruction is underway, infrastructure reconstruction is underway, but life is about a lot more than bricks and mortar. It's about a job, it's about a community, it's about having friends and family around, it's about finding a way to bring back the thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people who are elsewhere in Turkey, who feel very strongly about their identity, their local community, but need a guarantee, a promise of that they will have hopes and dreams in the future to come back.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
A lot of that international funding and grants will be overseen by officials like Hikmet Gumuser from Kahramanmaras's Chamber of Commerce. He has been pushing for the rapid rebuilding of the city and other quake-damaged areas, but his long-term focus and goal is to create jobs, lots of them. So what could you tell us about the overall economic impact had the February 6 earthquakes on Maraş and the other regions?
As you know, unfortunately, the earthquake happened in 11 cities, but mostly 4 cities has been affected from earthquake. And these cities was very important for Turkey in economical side. In Kahramanmaras, we are a very exporter city, and there are too many production factories, and industry is very improving, especially in textile and in kitchen steel products industry. And our direct export was around $2 billion US, and unfortunately, earthquake really affected our export volumes. In total 11 cities, total export was around $20 billion US, and it decreased to $18 billion. So it means approximately $2 billion US of loss in export side happened in all 11 cities. And $400 million US loss in export belongs to Kahramanmaras, unfortunately. Because we are selling our textile products mainly to Europe markets. And because of recession, their power of purchase really decreased, and the demand really decreased in Europe side. Because of this reason, our export decreased. Our recorded, lastly, direct export in 2022 was 1.5 billion US dollars. And unfortunately, according to numbers as of December 2023, our annual export was 1 billion US dollars. So it means around 400 million US dollars of loss in export side.
So after Hatay, Maraş was one of the worst hit province. You've mentioned about the exports volumes, how they have dropped, but how much of a damage we're talking about here, especially when it comes to infrastructure?
In total 11 cities, total earthquake loss is around 103 billion US dollars. And according to numbers, approximately 25 billion US dollars of this damage belongs to Kahramanmaras, especially in infrastructure sites. Too many buildings, apartments, factories destroyed, unfortunately. And to be able to renovate this, we really need a huge capital, and we really need huge finance to be able to turn normal. But the motivation is high. I believe Kahramanmaras will turn to its normal life in very soon, economically.
So where does Maraş stand in its economic recovery when compared to other earthquake-hit cities? And is it facing different or similar challenges in terms of reconstruction and trade?
One of our most biggest advantage is motivation, because Kahramanmaras people don't want to live in another cities. Our laborship volume was around 180,000 registered employees in Kahramanmaras, according to numbers in January 2023. In March, it decreased to 53,000, from 180 to 53. Now, yes, and according to numbers as of December 2023, our registered employee is 164. We are turning to normal life, and our employees come again to cities. Yes, they have house problems, especially they need new houses, and the government will start to deliver new houses for the affected people step by step, and this week 6,000 of new houses will be delivered. Laborship is very important for economical resistance and economical reconstruction, because we need employees in our factories, in industry sites. When employees will start to return to cities, things will turn to normal again. And also in construction sites, producers of Kahramanmaras start quickly to rebuild their factories. One of the key factors in this reconstruction was insurance industry. Insurance really worked very well in Kahramanmaras, and affected industrial peoples collected their loss from insurance companies. And with this money, they didn't go to another cities by taking this money. Instead of this, they preferred to invest again to Kahramanmaras. This is a huge motivation, and by this way, our laborship increasing again. And it's a good signal for Kahramanmaras.
So agriculture and livestock industry also took a major hit after those devastating earthquakes. So what kind of steps are you taking to revive these sectors as well?
Agriculture is very dependent with the industry in Kahramanmaras, because our industry really based on agricultural products like cotton, like corn. And these people really suffered from finding laborship in agriculture industry. Because of same reason, many people moved to another cities. Unfortunately, it was the biggest factor. But when industry revive again and will continue again, agriculture business also affected very positive from this situation. And now too many farmers turn to their village and they start again for agriculture, especially for industrial purposes. And it's a good motivation for investors. They have place, they have incentive certificate, and we always declare that they come and invest to Kahramanmaras because our city will turn to normal or will pass its old days with this economical reconstruction.
So can we say like Maraş is one of the fastest cities among the others to recover after those devastating earthquakes? What are your expectations in a few years?
We can say clearly, our expectation is Kahramanmaras is very, Kahramanmaras people is very loyal to their cities. And we have more than 30,000 business places in Kahramanmaras, small, medium or big. Approximately more than 800 big factories located in Kahramanmaras, and also there are some small workshops or women entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs in our city. And all parties needs incentives. Incentive certificates should not be produced only for the big industry investors. Also, small groups should beneficiate from this sixth region of incentive certificate, because our population in Kahramanmaras decreased to 700,000. It was 1 million. Imagine a farm machine, for example. Farm machine used to work to 1 million people. Now their customer population decreased to 800,000 people. But their rental payment increased, their employee payment increased, and also because of inflation, all their other costs are increased. But there is no any advantage for a farm machine, for example. Maybe in this region, decreasing the social security payments for all groups, or also some supports in rental payments, or some supports in long-term loans. This is one of the maybe biggest requests from the region, and will be very, very, very beneficial. Too many parties needs long-term maturity, long-term loans and employee incentives.
We have to wrap it up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
In the next few months, thousands will begin to move into newly constructed apartments like this one. These homes have been built by TOKI, Turkey's Housing Development Administration. Usually tasked with building mass housing projects for the country's lower and middle income groups, TOKI will be taking the lead in housing quake survivors. So 1 year passed since those devastating earthquakes. How many houses you have built so far?
After the February 6 earthquakes, the administration invited tenders for 22,240 residential units across Kahramanmaras province. Based on the results of the tenders, TOKI was selected to construct 21,679 units. Of this amount, the first 8,124 housing units were delivered to their new owners through a lottery selection process, which was attended by the Turkish president on February 6. The process of moving our citizens to their new homes has been started this way.
So how many houses are you planning to build in the months to come, or maybe the years?
The construction work in Kahramanmaras started right after the earthquakes. Ground survey reports for residential buildings have been done, and these works in construction are still ongoing throughout the whole province.
So tell us about the safety measures of these houses. I mean, are they ready for future disasters, future earthquakes?
The foundation and walls for the new units were done using the tunnel formwork systems. The same technology was used for other houses, which were earlier constructed by TOKI. This technology enabled the houses to survive the double earthquake. The new houses are being built using the same construction technology method, providing the necessary safety guarantees.
So as TOKI, are you able to meet the demand for more houses so far?
The construction process is definitely not very fast. We use the experience we gained from earlier earthquakes and other natural disasters to help us speed up this process. We'll be moving people into their new homes one by one as soon as the new residential units are delivered. The process will be continued by our agency, both for the tenders and for the construction.
Thank you. The date February 6 has been forever etched on this country of 85 million. But since that tragic day, Türkiye, with the help of its foreign friends, has come together in a show of solidarity to treat the injured, to rebuild homes, and to return life as it was. That journey won't be easy, but everyone I talk to here feels it will be achieved. Thank you for joining me on this special edition of Strait Talk from Kahramanmaras. Until we meet again, goodbye.